Okay, I don't know if we're live or not, Jason Galvin.
It says live, Jason. That's how this works.
All right, well, it's telling me that we're not going to go live on Twitter because it says, stop music. Hold on. This is what happens when we don't do a show in like 3 weeks.
I think I'm going to fire you from being our technical director.
A premium account on X Twitter is required to create a live broadcast on their platform. Please upgrade to a premium subscription on X Twitter.
Technology, dude. Technology changes.
What? But that was like 3 weeks ago. Now all of a sudden we got to do something different.
Yeah, that's a Twitter issue.
This freaking Elon Musk guy.
Look, it's something about guys named Elon.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, we're not going to be live on Twitter.
Oh, tragic. We'll survive.
We'll figure that out over the next week or something. Oh, my God. Jason Galvin, I was just telling Elon, who's backstage, that I am like congested, dude. I'm like, from this weekend.
See, look, Heiner's mad at you. Listen, Heiner, you'll be happy to know that Galvin's trying out a new setup today. Okay. And we're going to see if that fixes the internet problem that we've talked about extensively. Okay. This is called modern technology. We're using my wife's laptop. And, if it works, then I'll go out, I'll go out and get an adapter or two for my regular microphone and my HD camera. Not that this camera is not nice. It's much better than the built-in one for me. But so far, knock on tables, it feels better. This is good. This is good.
All right, very good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Life's a Drag, where we have technical issues at every turn. Galvin can't figure out his internet.
Where he has technical issues at every turn.
And then all the platforms that we try and put everything out on, change everything up. I don't understand. I got to keep up with the times. I got to figure that out. I was watching on TikTok earlier today about a comedian talking about how when you're in your 50s, that's just like the freshman year of being old, and then started going through like just how you're just starting to get old. You're not old yet, and I'm like, okay, that's me. Can't figure out technology for everybody, and
Heiner's not wrong here.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
Yeah. See, look, people are rolling in. We're good. People are finding it, right? Here's Dan. Good morning, Dan, right? Here's Kara. Saw Kara last weekend. Good morning, right? Here's Megan. Saw her in Seattle, right? Good morning. See, it's like people are rolling in here.
Yeah, we're fine.
Look, I was so proud of myself. Look, we even come prepared with like pictures. See, there's Megan in Seattle. She got to meet Zombie.
Oh, nice.
It was great, right? See, you weren't in Seattle, so you missed so much of that. It was
I don't think I missed anything in Seattle, to be quite honest. I mean, I missed probably 40-hour days.
You missed me wearing myself out on Friday.
Yeah.
there was that. Look, you missed this.
Oh, that's beautiful.
See, that's from the top floor of the Muckleshoot Casino that we stayed at, which is, by the way, like sick, amazing place. Hope we get to stay there again next year. Hope that the partnership evolves, which
I hope so too.
I hear it might, and I hope that maybe it evolves to the point where Jason Logan gets to come to Seattle and stay there as well, because it was the nicest room I've ever stayed in on tour. Okay, I get to stare at that every day, which is cool. I still think Mount Rainier, by the way, like that thing's like 50 miles away in that picture, right? You ever you go to Seattle? Like I go to Seattle when we're driving to the racetrack and you see Rainier out in the distance. Like I was on the phone with my uncle when I was driving there, and I've said this to him, like for all the years he came up there and raced. I'm like, did you ever drive up here and just like look off at Rainier in the distance and be like, holy crap, that thing's big. Like,
right.
I hope today's not the day it decides to wake back up.
Yeah, I've always wanted to drive over there and go see all that stuff. But from what I understand, it's you got to get there super early because the park closes and everything. I'm like,
it's like an all day thing. Like that's one of those deals where like how we've talked about one of these years, if we all go doing like the Sonoma, Seattle, just stay out and drive or whatever, like that's a deal we do Monday. Monday becomes the washout day and we get up Monday and go do that and then leave from Rainier and drive south into Oregon and spend the night and drive to Sonoma the next day type of deal. Like,
I agree with you on that. That would be a cool thing to see.
But here's some things that you missed. Okay. That's the best burger I've ever had on tour.
Where was that?
That was at the 24-hour cafe inside the casino. Like you could order that any time of the day. It was phenomenal. And then At the steakhouse up on the top floor, you miss smoke. Okay, look, we had smoked old fashions,
Nice.
we had smoked tartare. Like, if you could smoke it, we pretty much had it. It was great. It was great.
So compare the room to
This is
the
this is your fault, Heiner. You should have been nicer to the people at the front desk. Should have been nicer. Hang on the parking. Go ahead.
compare that room to the rooms we get at the banquet.
Yeah, great comparison. Evan and I talked about that, right? Like very similar,
Right.
like almost identical.
Okay.
I liked the shower here more, dude. The showers had like this deal that came over the top of you, and then two in front of you that squirted
Oh,
out, and then like a
yes.
handle. Like it was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
It was pretty
there's something to be said about a good hotel shower. Like the showers we had, the hotel that we stayed in this past weekend. By the way, Jason Galvin got his own room the past 2 weekends. I got my own room this weekend,
You
which
did.
was pretty awesome.
In fairness, I had a roommate last weekend, but she was married to me, so
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got to deal with that.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it was good.
but that's always a plus when we get our own rooms. And it's very fortunate. But yeah, man. So Seattle was crazy,
Seattle was out of control. Here, real quick,
racing wise.
I'm being asked about the zombie. Maybe some people don't know, so I give the background story. You know, so I have a son, 5.5, and when I went to leave for Epping, I took a red eye to Epping overnight to Boston, and so I left at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. And my son has a million Legos. He's obsessed with the Minecraft Legos, specifically. And so the little zombie guy is, they call him a creeper, I think. No, he's a zombie. Anyways, he's a Minecraft character that that JJ went, like, I was walking out the door, and he goes, "Dad, stop. You forgot something." I forgot something. He goes, "Yeah, you forgot something very special." I'm like, okay, like. And he walks around, stares at his Legos. He's got 12 boxes and pulls this little zombie guy out. He's got a handful of them. Comes over and hands it to me, brings this little creepy Enderman dude, if anybody's Minecraft familiar, that's like the enemy of the zombie guys, over to, hands me the zombie, puts the Enderman in his pocket and says, "You should put this in your pocket. And when you're on the road, if you think of me, or you miss me, then you could pull the little zombie guy out and you'll be able to remember me and you could smile. And if I'm thinking about you and I miss you, then I'll pull the Enderman out of my pocket and it'll make me remember you and smile." So I took that, and when I got to the airport that night, I was in the Sky Club lounge, and I just thought, like, it'd be cool. Like, I should take some pictures of this little dude on his, trip to Boston, basically. And it blew up. Like, I took pictures with it at Fenway Park, and we went and did some stuff in downtown Boston, you, me, and Joe, and at the racetrack, and I like just made a social media post about it, and it like took off. So now it's like a thing where I'm getting like requests. Austin Proc won in Sonoma or in Seattle and asked me to pull the guy out and take a picture to send to JJ. And Krista Baldwin's got it hanging off of her drink, and Buddy Hull took it down the racetrack in the funny car. Mike Heiner, Mike Heiner put it in Derek Kramer's car, like prominent in a video when we got to Bristol. So yep, see, here we go. Creeper was right. Look at that. So thank you, Steve. So yeah, no, that's the kind of long-winded version, but it evolved as a deal with my son, who like just wanted me to take it on the road. But now it's to the point where it's like a thing. Like every week it goes on adventures. I'll make the Sonoma post. I've had like
Now it's becoming annoying.
I've had like at least a dozen people tell me I should write a children's book about it, which maybe I will.
Yeah.
Maybe nothing will happen with it, but I don't know. It'd be cool. Look, Jason Logan could do the animation. Listen, Heiner, she's going to learn about it when she wakes up. Okay. My wife is a night shift nurse. She's sleeping right now. Okay. So that's how I stole her laptop. She'll find out about when she wakes up. But, and where was our room in Sonoma? We stayed in Novato.
Novato, man.
Yeah, we stay over there. We used to stay at the Embassy Suites in Napa, and Embassy Suites,
I liked it.
You like that Embassy Suites more?
Yeah.
The hotel is nicer, obviously, than a courtyard, but it's an Embassy Suites. But it's way further away.
It is a drive to the track, yes.
It's twice as long, dude.
Yeah, but there's food options. I mean, we were trying to go have dinner, and on Saturday night, and our boss wanted to take us out to dinner. was like an hour and 15 minutes away from our hotel.
Well,
I
in
was like,
fairness, it was like 50 minutes away from his too. So,
well, yeah, but I was like, no, see, that's
but
the problem.
Petaluma's great. Where we went to
I
Sears and
love
Petaluma. Didn't take
Petaluma.
any pictures. Petaluma's phenomenal. Seared is phenomenal food if you're ever in Petaluma. You
Yeah,
know, I had the filet and scallops. It was
me
great. I
too.
think you did too. Yeah, my wife and Evan had halibut. It looked amazing. Mike Rao had a ribeye that looked really darn good. Just leave it at that. So, no, it was good.
Yeah, I had that surf. If it says surf and turf, I usually don't get it. But when he started to explain it to you, I was like, that sounds actually really good.
Yeah, man, the scallops are good. I
That
love
was really
scallops.
good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did enjoy that as well. All right, so do we even care about drag racing? Do we want to just talk about other fun stuff that didn't happen at the racetrack?
Yeah, dude, look at this. Here's what you missed in the middle of the week. All right. I always advise going wine drinking with professional wine drinkers.
Oh yeah,
It's great, you know. So on Wednesday, my wife and I and Jimmy Prock and Jill, his son Thomas, his wife Hallie, my cousin, um, who else? Chuck, who works on the Force team with Lanny on the track stuff, and his wife Amber, and Mike Green, Justin Ashley's crew chief, and Diane went wine tasting. So we went to Del Dado and Farniente, and that was a wild day. Like, first off, there's inappropriate videos that I can't show from inside the
Second
bus.
off,
But look how pretty that
you
place
you
is.
survived.
I survived.
You didn't have a
It's
a
great. My
total
wife,
thing.
God bless her, is a trooper. You know, she's 8 months pregnant, and she's up there dealing with 9 other wine drunk yahoos.
She's
You know,
8 months pregnant.
this week, yeah,
She looks fit. I mean, I
she
would
does look
never
great.
I would never have said 8 months. I
No,
would
dude, she looks
maybe
great.
5,
No, she
maybe
looks great.
4.
Yeah,
She looks
she looks great.
amazing.
Yeah, she looks great. By the way, this was our view in Sonoma. I had a lot of people asking me, like, "Hey, where'd you guys sit in Sonoma?" Amazing. Highly
Yeah,
recommend.
that was a good spot.
Highly, highly recommend watching a drag race from here. Like, very, very cool. Your ability from right here, we're like right at 330 feet here. Your ability to like see down track and watch a race unfold is like world class, because like on the starting line where we sit for most of the races, it's so hard to tell exactly where one car is versus the other as they're driving away, but like I think of semifinals, right? Like I was in the booth this weekend, semifinals, funny car, Tasca, Austin, Proc. And like they went by me at 330 feet and Austin had a nose on him. And like I could watch that entire race kind of develop as Bob's car started making the speed it was making all weekend and kind of drove around Austin on the big end of the racetrack. And so like it just, I feel like allows you to tell a better story, like seeing the race from up there. Really, really
Yeah,
cool.
no, you guys did a really good job up there. I like where I sit, I get the reaction times. So you could see who left first because I'm right there. Like I'm like in between probably 30 and 60 feet. And so I can tell, like, especially in pro stock, you can just tell. I'm like, okay, that person's winning right from the line.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool to see that whole where we do get to sit. Yeah, you guys get shafted sometimes at some of these racetracks where they, built in the 60s and 70s and they didn't think about, all the other fun stuff that was going on. But yeah, you had a good spot this past weekend.
Yeah, it was. And yes, Steve, my cousin is married to Thomas Prock. They're the godparents to my son. So, yes. Anyways,
So, yeah,
that
well,
was racing. Racing was
speaking
fun.
of Thomas Prock and the whole JFR, talk about the whole big news yesterday.
Jack Beckman, man. What do you think?
By
It's
the
good
way,
to have Jack back.
yeah.
Everybody loves Jack.
By the way, there was a guy all Sonoma race weekend who had like a handkerchief or something that says "Bring back Fast Jack," and I looked at Galvin. I go, Galvin, look, and this is at Winter Circle. I go,
Yes.
dude, this guy's pointing that thing at me. Like, what am I gonna do to bring Fast Jack back? I go, I don't direct it at me. And Galvin goes, should we tell him?
I was to say, I was wondering if you remembered what I said. What I said was, who wants to tell him?
Yeah.
I said, who wants to tell him? Because I knew, we all knew.
Yeah.
And I said, who wants to tell him? And J-Lo goes, I'm not telling him. I said, all right,
I'm not telling him.
We'll keep it suspenseful.
I'm not getting in trouble.
The guy spun around and had this look like, I don't think it
Paul?
clicked for him at all. He was just like, huh?
Well, but he'd been walking around all weekend with that.
all,
I was like,
all
"What are you
weekend.
doing, guy?
Like a handkerchief.
Slow
Like
down."
it looked like used underwear almost.
Yeah.
Bring back Fast Jack hanging around the flag.
So that's cool. Yeah, Fast Jack will be fun. Top End interview is always fun. I mean, a great ambassador for the sport of drag racing to begin with. And I mean, what better mouthpiece and person to have you fill in for you?
Yeah, no, look, dude's Jack Beckman. He's a world champion. He's won 33 national events, I think. He's probably unquestionably the best driver without a full-time ride right now in a funny car. So, um, I think it's great to have him back out there. I think if you look at how that race car was running with John, I would expect it to pick up right where it left off. It's been over 1,300 days since Jack competed in an NHRA race. So his license is up, and that team's going to Norwalk this weekend. So if you're in the Ohio area and going to the Night Under Fire, you'll get to see Jack compete in that car. They're going to make hits on Friday and on Saturday. Unsanctioned race, obviously, so you don't need to have your NHRA competition license to compete in that. They can use those runs as licensing runs. It's at an NHRA facility. Obviously, Bader will be there, so he can be the track representative, just re-sign off on it or whatnot. That is not an issue, right? Jack's going to make as many runs as they need to make sure that he gets his license back. But look, it's Night Under Fire. They set those cars up to just go down the racetrack and put on a show. They're not
Right.
going out there trying to set the world on fire. So I would suspect he'll come out on Friday and run a 4 something the first run, and the second run down the racetrack, that car probably run 397, 398, and they'll run mid 390s all weekend, and maybe try to stand on it Saturday night in front of the crowd a little bit more, but it'll be fine. Like Jack Beckman is maybe the single biggest student of our sport I've ever met. Right? He is a historian. He has an impeccable memory when it comes to historical facts and facets of our sport, and could probably sit here right now, come on this show, and walk you through every single opponent that he could potentially face, their staging procedures, amount of time. Like, that's just who Jack is. So
Right.
it would literally not shock me in the slightest bit if that car qualifies top 3 and wins the race in Brainerd at all. Look how good that car was running when John got hurt, right?
Yeah.
Coming off multiple finals, a win, a Too Fast, Too Tasty win. The car was second in points. It was the only car that was even in the same stratosphere as Austin Prock's car has been in this year, right? Bob Tasco wins last week, and he's still 211 points back with 2 races till the countdown. So
Yeah, where is John Force in the countdown?
6th right now.
So
here's the deal. So he only fell to 6th. Only fell to 6th, and he's less than a round behind Ron Capps. So if that car goes 1 round more than Capps this weekend, or 2 weeks in Brainerd, then that car's right back into the top 5. And for those, I've had a lot of people that, like, even though everybody I feel like is doing a good job talking about it, the JFR release, NHRA, I posted about it. Joe, I know, was all over on her show. I saw Courtney put an explanation post up on the Flow drag racing. Like, the whole world's trying to talk about it. There still seems to be some people confused. That car will be championship eligible, and it will be championship eligible for John Force.
Right. So
there's
the points.
a replacement driver rule. It happened this year. You get 8 races. That's why Brainerd is the race. It's strategically picked. They could have absolutely run that car in Seattle with Jack if they really wanted to, but it wouldn't have helped. It would have been pointless from a point standpoint, right? You get 8 races, and Brainerd, Indy, 6 countdown races are your 8 races. It has to be an approved replacement driver. Obviously, this will be approved because John was injured in an accident at the racetrack. It's not like, as I said, it's not like he, picked the phone up and said, "Hey guys, I feel like going to Turks and Caicos for 4
Right.
months. Good luck." And so Jack will earn points for John. Now if he wins a national event, it's going to be Jack Beckman won a national event. Like, John isn't going to get credit for, winning the last 8 races of the year if Jack wins them. But the points will go to John in the championship countdown. So, I mean, there is a theoretical path here where John Force could win his 17th world championship this year still with Jack driving the car.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah. Well,
That
I can
would.
imagine. I can imagine the social media firestorm that
Oh
would
my
probably
God.
cause.
Everyone would lose their mind over that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be the craziest thing ever.
Yeah. But
Oh, I so want that to happen now. I want
it's
that to
it's
happen.
look, it's great. To answer Dan's question, do you have a green screen back there?
I do not.
No. Yeah, you just have one of those background deals on. It's pretty cool.
It's in within the program here.
It is. It is. It does make the listen. So correct, makes the countdown very interesting. I actually forgot to look at top fuel points, but I'm going to pull that up right now. Brittany was 10th going into the weekend. They obviously had a good weekend, won a couple rounds, and some of the other cars that were in contention with her struggled. Brittany is post-Sonoma. Brittany is still 10th. Still 10th, but with a gap now. She has a 3-round gap to Josh Hart and more than a race to Sean Reed and Jasmine Salinas. So that's important, right? Like, not to get too much into the racing aspect of things here, and we'll get Elon on here in a second because he's been patiently waiting. But like points are such a huge deal right now. Then you've got to be in the top 10 or you're not going to be championship eligible. Well, Brittany Force did not come to Norwalk. She didn't qualify in Chicago, and that doesn't count. Because she made an attempt to qualify, but didn't come to Norwalk. And, Jasmine Salinas did not compete in Gainesville, right? Mike was driving before he had his health issues, which, by the way, great to see Mike Salinas back this week.
Yeah, that was cool.
So both of those cars, like Jasmine right now, you talk about feeling pressure. I mean, she's a full race plus back behind Brittany Force and almost 2 races back of Tony Stewart, Billy Torrance, Clay Milliken, and Tony Schumacher, who are all clumped together from 6th to 9th. And Tony Stewart made up a lot of ground this week and obviously going to the final round. So, like Jasmine's going to need somebody to kind of stumble here. And frankly, probably needs to win one of the next 2 races and at least go around in the other one to even have a chance to become championship eligible this year. And for Brittany, Brittany could have a big sigh of relief in Brainerd, right? If she goes, 3 or 4 rounds, if she gets to the semis or the finals or further, then she probably goes into Indy, maybe not feeling quite as much pressure. But the points and a half deal in Indy, if Brittany goes out there and loses round 1 at Brainerd, points and a half in Indy is a big deal. Funny Car's got literally the same thing going on, right? Blake Alexander is 5 points ahead of Alexis. Now, Alexis is going to be countdown eligible, whether she's in the top 10 or not, because she's gone to every race. But Blake Alexander won't be if he gets knocked out of the top 10. And same with Paul Lee. Paul Lee is only 19 points ahead. So Alexis, in theory, could jump both of them in one round. And Cruz Pedregon is less than a race back of both Paul Lee and Blake. And that car has really started to run better over the last 2 or 3 races. The Sunday results haven't necessarily come because they've had some issues in qualifying and not probably qualified where they should have. But the eliminations runs the last 2 weeks for Cruz, I'd have to go look, but he's been like the 2nd or 3rd quickest round 1 loser, and if he would have raced somebody else, probably goes rounds at each race. So like points and Top Fuel and Funny Car are going to be really interesting here over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. And all who would Ron August beat Doug Coletta this weekend, round 1? It's like, it's like,
listen, this is a great time to bring Elon in here because he had here. Let's bring Elon Werner in, our guest. Ron August beats Doug Coletta round number 1. Drag race bracket bonanza.
Biggest upset of the history of Drag Race Bracket Bonanza.
Could you say?
Give me
less than the people that picked Ron August of almost 2,000 brackets. 0.086%.
0.08%.
Yeah, 0.08.
So 0.08%.
Correct.
And I said to Elon in the media room, I said, can you just track who just auto picks and auto generates? Because that had to be an auto
could
generator.
include
I didn't
the
think
randomizer
about
people.
I didn't even think about that.
That could include the contrarians out there that just, I'm going to pick the number 16 qualifiers and try to go for points. But the other thing is 45% of the Drag Race Bracket Bonanza players had picked Coletta to win the race.
Oh.
I mean, he's, number 1 qualifier, number 2 qualifier. I mean, he was right up there.
Track number 1, track record, racing Ron August. No offense to Ron August. Yeah. Generally, most people think Ron August is a duck, right? Like with a bye run in round 2. So effectively, I think most people went into race day thinking Doug Coletta has to be one, quote unquote legitimate driver to go to the final.
Everybody that looked at that, again, no offense to Ron August, immediately penciled in, where do I need to get in line for the Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty to get my Doug Coletta autograph after he wins?
Right. Which, by the way,
straight to the semis.
By the way,
and the one thing
do you think Ron August is coming to Brainerd to compete in the Too Fast, Too Tasty?
I don't think he is. So we need to figure out the way that works is the
quickest round 2 loser.
Quickest semifinalist that's not in there, I think.
It's the quickest round 2 loser.
Quickest round 2 guy, yeah.
Which, if you give me a second here, I will tell you exactly who that will be. But yeah, anyway, listen. By the way, to Ron August's credit, okay, Tony Stewart started spinning the tires out there.
Yeah, he
like
just about made the final.
Almost drove around him.
Yeah,
almost drove around him.
If we would have been racing to 1,020 feet, I think Ron August would have had a chance.
Would have drove right by him. Yeah. Well, I think I said on the mic, if we'd been racing to 1,320 feet, Ron would have drove away. Drove away. Yeah. All right, let's see. Justin Ashley smoked the tires. Billy smoked the Steve Torrance. Remember, we had that side-by-side 74-7, incredible race of the day, 8th out the stripe. So Steve Torrance will be the fill-in. So it'll be Steve, Antron, Brittany, and Tony Stewart. Yeah.
It's pretty solid Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty.
It doesn't suck.
No, and they've been really good.
Right there.
By the way, I need a Paul Lee walk-up song. I'm just throwing that out there. I got to get with him. I don't have a Paul Lee walk-up.
The Gambler,
Heartbreaker, Dream Maker.
No, the Gambler.
Ooh, I thought about the Gambler, but
the Gambler's another good one.
The dude plays in the World Series of Poker.
Yeah, it's a little slow.
It's not, just skip it straight to the point.
You got to know when to hold them.
Hold on. Let me find. Stand by.
Gonna get our show pulled off by playing music.
Just gonna dismiss my Heartbreaker, Dream Maker suggestion.
I like the Heartbreaker, Dream Maker.
I'm trying to find a hard rock band who has covered that song. You know, there's got to be one.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I need a Paul Lee walk-up song. If he's gonna be in Too Fast, Too Tasties and all that stuff, like he was this past weekend. So, Elon, we have you on here today because
watch this. Text Krista Baldwin.
Thank you. While he's doing this, we have you on here because you got something special going on with our friend Buddy Hull. Talk about what that's all about.
So, the NHRA, the NHRA is a digital channel, the NHRA Fast channel, which is 24/7. If you have Roku, Tubi, Samsung TV, just scream into your remote and say NHRA channel and then NHRA Live. And it shows previous Fox programming and they walked away videos. Buddy and I started talking earlier this year. There was an opportunity to create some content for that channel. And since this is Buddy's first year in Funny Car, we thought it'd be a cool idea. I love the Funny Car category. I'm a Funny Car guy. To basically create a show where Buddy just talks to Funny Car guys about how cool it is to be Funny Car guys. So it's Talking Funny Car with Buddy Hull. It debuts tonight at 8:00 Eastern. The first guest is Ron Capps. And basically all they do is talk about how cool it is to be a Funny Car. And we get some great stories from Ron about his mom racing. He tells an amazing story about really finding out when his Ron Capps Motorsports career was going to fully be realized. He talks about the phone call from Napa that really made it happen and the details around that. So it's just a lot of fun. The show has evolved. We've made Capps was the first one. We filmed the pilot with Cruz in Bristol, and that's actually going to be the second show in a couple weeks. And then this past weekend in Sonoma in the Turn 11 Club, we filmed shows with Dan Wilkerson, Austin Prock, and Paul Lee.
Oh, wow. Did some work.
And they are – what I love about them is they're not racing shows. They're shows about cool racers. Very little results talk, not talking about wins and losses. It is Cruz gives a great explanation of why he loves the Funny Car class and how he, even when he's not in a race, he goes up and watches Funny Cars run just because they're so awesome. So the whole idea is creating content for the NHRA channel. It'll debut tonight at 8:00 Eastern, and I think it's going to show again at 8:00 Pacific, and then it'll go into rotation on the Fast channel. In 2 weeks, we're going to put it on its own YouTube channel, and then right before PRI, we're going to drop all the episodes as podcasts.
Okay,
Nice.
that's cool.
So let me ask you this question. So this fast channel, I'm not
Yes.
so up to speed on this thing.
Right.
What is this an NHRA produced TV or TV channel?
This is an NHRA owned property, so I
Okay.
think it kind of works through our Fox deal.
All right.
But if you have a Roku or Tubi or any kind of smart TV, like when you turn it on and you're going to your DirecTV or HBO or whatever,
Right.
there's a deal to add channels. You can add Samsung TV. There's like 13 digital channels out there. So I just got a new Roku for Christmas that has like the microphone where you can talk into it.
Right.
And if you just say NHRA channel or NHRA fast channel, it'll show all the options that are free, and you can just pick Tubi. And then you just type in NHRA Live into the search bar, and it'll take you right to the channel.
Okay. Very good.
So, and you can add it, and again, all these things are learning. So now it's populated as one of my preferred channels just because I'm on it so much. But Caps watches the channel all the time, and it's so funny. People either know about the channel and kind of watch it all the time as background viewing, or they're like, I kind of heard about that and I'm not really sure what it is, but it's pretty cool, and I'm going to try to make it even cooler. I have other ideas for shows in 2025. I wanted to get this one show done as kind of a proof of concept. It'll be the first show on the Fast Channel that's not NHRA produced.
Okay.
So the same.
So to give you an idea, Logan, like right now, there's a combination of things on there, right? There's some reruns of events we've had in the past. Some of the events that maybe don't get as much TV runtime, some Lucas stuff, some Pro Mod stuff. There's the and they walked away / thrills and spills / whatever videos that we do. There's a lot of Kurt's behind the scenes stuff that's really awesome.
That Driven show is on there, I think.
Yes, the Driven show, exactly. They're trying to curate more content. When that channel launched early last year, there was a lot of like old content, right? I mean, like we're talking stuff that still had like Powerade on it, like pre-Mellow Yellow, and they're to the point now where it's like, I think for the most part, their general idea is to have it on like a 3-year window where basically once something gets to 3 years, it, ages out unless it's just spectacular, but other things will stay in. So like Elon's got these shows and like it's got a set time to air tonight, which is Wednesday night for those who go back and listen to this podcast later.
Thank you.
But that it's not like it'll air one time and then poof, disappear. Like it'll go into a rotation.
Correct.
And at any time you could see that pop back up and run again, it's really cool. And they put the Insider Live pod. That's when Loans and Tony say Insider Live, like that's the one thing on that channel that is live at a national event every weekend. It airs live on those channels. So if you have that channel at home, you could pop it up on the big screen and, at home and kind of watch the NHRA Insider Live and get an idea of what's happening in the pits and whatnot before you flip back over to .tv to watch the rest of the day.
Yeah. And one of the ideas that I have that I'm still kind of working the formatics of is creating a live bracket buster show that would like air Sunday night after the race. So I wanted to get this show done, proof of concept. I'm literally building an airplane while I'm flying it. I know just enough about making TV to be dangerous.
Right.
So for people that, I definitely want everyone to tune in tonight. The show tonight will look dramatically different than the pilot with Cruz. And then the preceding shows or the following shows will look dramatically different than the Cruise show, because we did the Cruise show at Bristol up on the hill with the track in the background. Amazing venue, but we have a little bit of car sound in the back. So got feedback from NHRA. They're like, oh, we need to have better sound. We filmed Caps in Richmond, and I got this really kick-ass backdrop that looked great in real life, but when you see it on TV, it's red with the logo in the middle. It's just a little much. So now we go to Turn 11 Club for the future shows, and it's spectacular. The guys at Turn 11 were amazing. So you'll see like this evolution of the show, which every show goes through. If you look at the very first Jimmy Fallon Tonight show to what you're seeing today, it's a process.
Yeah. I don't know if Warren told you this, because Elon's working with Warren Evans, who was on the mic this week in Sonoma. But, so Warren and I were in Columbus for the Sports Nationals because
Okay.
Warren does a lot of our streaming stuff. And so I had the opportunity. I saw like the very rough cut version of the Cap show and kind of give him some of my input and thoughts too. But I loved the concept right away. Like the concept is awesome. You're right. That backdrop, that was the first thing I said. It was like, whoa, backdrop.
It
like,
was real bad because also Buddy Hull's wearing a red shirt.
Yes.
So it's a red shirt in front of a red backdrop because his other option was, he goes, well, I got a white shirt too. And I was like, dude, it will look like you were struck by lightning if we're wearing that white shirt. I mean, you'll drive everyone with any kind of technical skill on their TV insane. They'll just be battling with their brightness and contrast for the whole full 30 minutes and then realize they missed the show because they're like, what is happening here? So,
but I think after the pandemic and everybody going through all their, virtual learning and virtual work crap, I think things like that, I mean, I know they matter because you want people to watch it.
Right.
You want to get, but at the same time, you're not TV people. Yeah. And I mean, you're not NBC doing the Olympics,
but I will say that this is a legit NHRA channel. The guy that's like trafficking it has a background at Fox and real national. So that's the great thing is the bar is very high. You can't just take an internet show and put it on there. I mean, I jumped through a number of hoops and things.
And this stuff's it's all going through Righteous and Rob and
correct.
I don't think I don't think enough people, not that they really need to, but for anybody who cares to understand, our TV production stuff, like our shows are house produced.
Yes.
Which I always hate because people are like NHRA buys their TV time. Like that's not true. NHRA bought their TV time with ESPN.
Right.
NHRA national broadcasts have been house produced for the record since like the 80s. Like Steve Evans and Dave McClellan were NHRA employees, folks. Okay. So but Steve Righteous, who's our vice president of broadcasting, and Rob Hedrick are they're not just like people that we picked up off the scrap pile and we're like, hey, make a TV show happen.
Award-winning producers and content creators and directors.
Correct. Who could tomorrow say, hey guys, I don't want to do drag racing anymore, and have lines out the door from major professional sports trying to hire both of them. Yeah,
for sure. Rob could leave tomorrow and go and produce a Super Bowl.
Zero question.
Yeah,
literally zero.
Or make movies. I mean, and so, but you jumping back a little bit, Jason, to you in the concept of the show. I'm a huge Ron Capps fan, going back to when I was at the Motorplex in the early 90s. He was just, and probably the greatest, the satisfying deal of when he finished his first episode with Buddy, he was like, man, he goes, this was really cool. He goes, I love this idea of the show. This has been a long time coming. And that to me was like, okay, I think I'm onto something. I think this could really, and Steve came by Friday when we were filming with Austin and Dan Wilkerson. And he was like, oh, I like this concept. It's longer form. Buddy's a great interviewer. He's got a great personality. He's asking really good follow-up questions. So we have a little bit of a roadmap for the show. But if guys start talking about their family or cooking or poker or, Dan Wilkerson talked about how being a CPA relates to drag racing. I mean, it's fascinating, non-traditional, talk about how racing works and the funny car class. So I'm excited about it. So
yeah, I was going to ask, how is Buddy Hull? Is he good? I'm excited to watch it just to see him.
He's
Buddy Hull, Jason.
He gets.
Yeah, I know.
He was good. And this is as a producer of a show, you go into it with certain ideas of what you want the show to be. And I came up with a Buddy Hull logo. And so the first show, they have mics with mic flags on them. And I was super proud of the mic flags. Well, that just creates some formatic problems. It's a little awkward. So the Buddy and Cruise shows have mic flags. But after that, no more mic flags. We just went with lapel mics to just help Buddy out. Because it's just, you guys know, you guys work with microphones. It's hard to be consistent with it and for 30 minutes and hold it. And you got it all kind of going all over the place. So he's super engaging. Yeah. He does have a catchphrase. which
Oh,
I
I
have
can't wait
not.
to hear that.
This is breaking. I've not addressed with him, but as you watch the shows, we'll see if you can eventually guess what it is.
Will it
It's
become a
little-
drinking game?
It's a little bit of everyone has a crutch, whether it's or
Yeah.
whatever. He has a crutch, and it's spectacular. So I'm not saying anything to him.
All right,
But
good.
when you hear it, you will be like, I mean, it's basically like Will's Up in 20 on whatever is it, Criminal Minds, where in every one of those shows they throw in like, hey, Will's Up in 20.
Right.
When they go to solve the same deal. And now you guys know it will be a must tune in when you watch the episode. When you watch all the episodes, you're gonna be like, okay, when's it gonna happen? When's he gonna say it? But he is a really good interviewer. He really listens to the person he's talking to and asks really good follow-ups. And he's, just super engaging. He is a bundle of energy that loves Funny Car. And
I love Buddy Hall.
Everybody loves Buddy Hall.
He is so cool. And what a great person to have do this. I mean, because he just is. He's just infectious to be around. He's got that. He's positive all the time.
And
Elon, how do we get people hats? Where can they go to buy an Elon Werner?
They can go to, if you go to dragracebonanza.com, there is a shop button.
There you
and
go.
You can buy it, and I think they're $14.
There you go. Dan was asking. You also got a lot of props on here for the show, for the app from Dan and from Steven. By the way, breaking news, I met Elon's technical website director this weekend.
I met him twice.
Is there any truth to the rumor that you are potentially working on making the website a functioning app in the App Store?
I don't know. If I can figure out a way to make some money with it.
Right.
Apps are incredibly expensive.
Correct. Yes.
So if we can start making some money.
I led you down this road on purpose because
shout out to any potential sponsors. We
have
actually
right down.
U.S. Nationals, the countdown, 6 races. You can integrate yourself right into the national events. So we have email delivery, text delivery, time on site,
PA reads,
TV commercials. Got a couple other exciting deals. The championship belts have not been made yet, so you can still get branded on the championship belt. We're hosting also you guys need to know, you guys will be invited to this. Drag Race Bracket Bonanza is hosting a pre-come and go party on Monday at the Pachanga.
Excellent.
So we've rented out suites at the Pachanga for 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Come and go, food and drinks, to just thank everyone that's participated in Drag Race Bracket Bonanza.
Awesome.
So you guys will get an invite to that. So
I look forward to that.
And we're working on the overall prize for the person that wins for playing all 20 races. Impact donated a helmet. The great Brandon Baker from Brandon Baker Design, the JFR designer, basically he's the designer to the stars, is designing a helmet that we will get all top 10 finishers in all 4 pro classes to sign.
That's amazing.
And that will be the overall champion prize this year.
Awesome.
That's a great prize.
I have a question, Elon.
Hit me.
I have a question. Going back to Bracket Bonanza this past
Yes.
weekend. Was the Top Fuel overall champion one of the 12 people who picked Ron August?
I don't think so.
Interesting.
I will have to go back.
I just figured because if you had Ron August win round 1, it means you had him win round 2 because of the bye. By the way, do you realize that we almost had a situation where you're going to have to fundamentally redesign the entire programming of your app? Do you realize that?
What was going to happen?
If Ron August's car doesn't start and he loses round number 2 against a bye, you would have had to fundamentally redesign the whole thing so that I could try to predict the one time in NHRA history where a bye run lost.
Yeah. Which again, that goes back. The last time it happened was Brandon Bernstein.
Right.
Yeah. So so that would have been I think luckily if that would have happened, Aiden would have been there. He would have been able to. He would have been able to code that shit on the spot. That would have been perfect.
Right. Joe and I were like freaking out. I was like, man, this is either people are like, man, these two are really worried about this, or they're like, oh, this is
exciting. This is drama. But yeah, so the Funny Car bracket basically worked out exactly by the numbers. So we had 22 perfect funny car brackets in last weekend.
Wow.
So it came down to the tiebreaker. 22 people basically just went 1/16, 2/15. It basically just went according to form. And that's also, just a function. Sometimes you guys get on hot streaks and stuff like that, which, but yeah, Bracket Bonanza, I think, is, really taken off. It's about to be a year old. That's where I have to continually tell myself that it wasn't even a public thing until the U.S. Nationals last year.
Right. Yeah, I think we did like a test race in Brainerd.
Yeah, we were doing test races starting in the Western Swing.
Got it. Yeah, and that was just like all of us. Like Elon was like, "Hey,
exactly.
Guys, go to my website and fill this out, but don't tell anybody about it."
So it's great that that Dan from JCM actually won. Daniel Bartholomew, Diabetes Dan. How about just throwing all your medical conditions out there? Diabetes Dan.
Why is that his name on there?
That's his name. That's his username. If you go and look at it, so it's just we made a graphic that's like, Diabetes Dan won Top Fuel. Yeah,
that's funny.
We call him Intern Dan because of his relationship with Ted. So, hey, look, all right. So we got like 15 minutes left here.
Okay.
I want to hit on a couple things like kind of quicker form, just because there's some questions in the comments. But I do want to mention again, remind everybody what time Buddy Hole tonight.
8:00 Eastern tonight. NHRA Fast Channel. Go to Roku, Tubi, check it out. Definitely tell all your friends. But so any of these free digital channels, but the best ones are probably most likely Roku, Tubi, Samsung TV,
with a half dozen more on the way.
Correct.
And by the way, I know personally, and I won't put you on the spot to like tell anybody about this, but I know that Elon already has started working on another produced show of kind of a similar facet, different hosts, different subjects, more like behind the scenesy people. But like Elon's brain is spinning. There's a lot of this stuff coming here, and I think that that's going to open up an opportunity for other people to get involved here and kind of start doing stuff as well.
Are you talking about Jason and Jason? What?
That's my goal, is to our personalities have a lot of personality,
right?
And there's a lot of opportunity to put them in some good, unique environments together, separately, talk about stuff, and really broaden our sport. And that's the biggest thing we need. Everyone talks about the Need for Speed or whatever the F1 show is, or Full Swing. Well, this is possibly the closest thing we can get to that, to introducing people to the personalities of our sport.
Well, that's what we've all been waiting for. I mean, that's what we've been complaining about. Yes, they're underneath helmets, they're inside cars, and the cars are the stars. But no, come on.
Elon's PR people are very good, by the way.
Yeah, that's my daughter Abby, who I'll tell you a very funny story. She just started working for me full time. She graduated from Mizzou, worked for an agency for a while, got married, has now moved back to Texas. We're super excited. But she really started working for me full time at the beginning of this year. And while I was in Florida doing the Superstar Shootout and World Series of Pro Mod and Games, I basically was in Florida for 3 weeks. But I was just constantly calling her, thinking about ideas about how. And I was like, "Hey, let's do this. Okay, after like the third day of this, as I'm driving across, she's just like, "Are you just constantly thinking of ideas? I've never seen this side of you." And I go, "Yeah, you got Dad Elon. I wasn't gonna burden you with work Elon, but now that you're in the work Elon deal, but she's been amazing, because like I do, I come up with ideas, but she helps me get them to the finish line.
Yeah,
of, hey, what about this? And then she keeps me on task.
That's awesome.
So she's been amazing.
We all need somebody like that.
Yeah, we do. All right, couple things I'm going to hit on here. First off, Justin is asking about, this is kind of multifaceted. He says Indy's going to be packed from what he hears. I will tell you, and this will lead into this question, I will tell you that I had the opportunity to attend the NHRA Sponsor Summit on Thursday in Sonoma. It's the first time I got to go. I went with Gitrix, which is family-related business, obviously. But because I have the background that I do of being an announcer at NHRA, it kind of allowed me to see things in a kind of full circle moment. There was a lot of stuff that I can't publicly talk about that, Glenn talked about in this kind of state of the union, so to speak, state of the sport, that asked us not to talk about. I can tease some of it, like the 75th anniversary of the NHRA coming up in 2026. Some of that stuff you're going to start seeing rolled out as soon as Indy and towards the end of this year. Like The logo, I think, is amazing. We had a chance to see that. There is some behind the scenes stuff that's going on that fans are going to be able to get involved in, as well, as far as like commemorative stuff and memorabilia. I can tell you that there is a list, an updated list. We have the top 50 drivers that came out when we got to 50. There's going to be a top 75. Elon, I would guess that you probably are involved in the panel on that.
I got asked to contribute my 25 people, and then I'll make my list public,
as will I,
as well as the 5 people that just missed.
So you and I need to have a conversation, because I am down to 36 and I need to get it to 25.
Yeah. Wow, I was not asked to do this
because you don't know bleep about.
Okay.
Anyways,
yeah, but it was hard. I mean,
hard.
Like
I'm going to tell you right now that there are on mine, like there were multiple people who got like a hard chop who have multiple world titles and 20 plus national event wins, and it was like right away, zero chance.
And then I stopped
and thought about it, and I was like,
wow. I got the list. I looked at the list, thought about, is it missing anybody? And then I went through and like,
how many did you add?
I only added 2, I think.
I added 15.
Okay, see, that's where your knowledge comes in.
Because I in most of mine that I added, almost every one of them were sportsman racers.
Okay, yeah. See, I think I added 1 sportsman guy and 1 pro, and then through a process of elimination, they didn't make. I just like, let me think about this guy. But I went through the list first, and I did my people that for sure were on it.
Right.
And there were first blush, there were 7 people that were for sure on it.
Okay.
Like,
I have gotten myself to, I have what I believe are 16 like firm, yes, 100% must be on it is where I'm currently at. Yeah. So I have 9 more spots to fill. Yeah. And I think 16 or 17 people
it was daunting to, as I was doing on an Excel spreadsheet, kind of merging is like, okay, I only had 4 slots left and I had like 13 names. And then I'm just like, I walked away, came back. It's going to be an awesome list. It's going to be
it's going to be
and
amazing.
It'll be so great because I think people will be surprised that there are, like you said, multi-time world champions, double-digit national event winners in a lot of classes that you're going to be like, I can't believe this person didn't make the list.
Right.
But when you take a step back and go, what did they contribute to the sport? Right. What their impact? Oh, okay. Right. Well, that, and also people like lists.
People do like lists. It's a great topic. So anyways, let's go back to Justin's. So I was getting the 75th stuff. And one of the things that we did talk about was the tower at the U.S. Nationals. Yes, the tower in Indy is gone. It was not exactly, I don't think, planned up front that we were going to chop a tower down and not have a new one built and have the 70th running to the U.S. Nationals with what is the equivalent of a storage container as the tower. But that's where we're at. And there were a lot of things that were far beyond NHRA's controls that have to do with county permitting, stuff like that. And listen, you can't control what the government's going to do, right? And so you have officials and all that stuff. And so, yes, I know they're working on trying to get permitting for a second one that would go on top of it, and they're going to decorate it up so it's not just going to be like some crappy brown storage container off of the Union Pacific train going down the road, right? But but yeah, I mean, it's not going to be like some amazing tower. But that being said, the new tower that's going to be there when we get there in 2025, holy crap, will be the nicest tower in drag racing.
Historically, they have put the PR people and media
up top,
on the oval press box further down. So I'm guessing that might be a spot for us to work out of and then do all that stuff. So, and it's not terrible,
Yeah, I think you guys will be fine. So, and then the other thing
where am I going to sit? Where am I going to hang out? I mean,
you're not on the racetrack.
You're going to be on the racetrack all the time.
Yeah.
God, I don't like it.
Yeah, bring a beach chair.
Yeah,
bring a beach chair. Okay, Elon, let me ask this.
Yeah.
Did you hang around in the Sonoma Media Center for post-race press conferences? So I know nothing about this because I had to go down and do post-race. Matt was the first one off, so he went right to media. And I didn't really get a chance to go talk to anybody about this. I went and did family stuff. So what did Matt Smith say in post-race?
He basically just revisited that he thinks Vance and Hines is sandbagging, and just a little bit of that true rivalry stuff. And I believe he also, I don't know if this happened in the press room or at the top end, but he was not caught. He was talking about how all the other Mission Too Fast Too Tasty winners that won with him were not the picks he wanted to win. That basically he's like, man, I was really hoping Tony Stewart would win.
Oh no,
and
no,
I was really hoping Ron Capps would win.
So that was Sunday. That was pros. Because he said that when he got on stage with me.
Yeah.
Like I did post race, and he climbs up on stage with me, and like the first thing he's like, "Oh man, it's a great weekend." You know, Denzo, Matt Smith, Greg Butcher Trucking, blah 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 blah. He goes, "Ah man," he goes, "But like no offense to Antron and Bob and Aaron, but like I was really hoping that like
Corey Reed, my buddy Corey Reed would win.
Corey Reed, who's a motorcycle guy, and like for Tony Stewart's first national event win, and like Ron Capps is from up here and his family is here, and I was like, man, Matt, you just shit all over it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I love.
He wasn't mean about it. Like,
no, it wasn't. Like, that's what I love about Matt Smith is if you want to know what Matt Smith is thinking,
right?
Here's a surefire way to find out. Just ask him.
Yeah. Right.
What do you think about this guy?
Right.
That guy, blah, 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 blah.
Listen, the press conference for the All-Star call-out for the Gitchers.
Oh, yeah, that was chippy, too.
Was world class.
Yes.
And you weren't on it live, were you?
I was not. I had just heard about it. But the other thing he said, I think, in the media center was, and this may have been Saturday after he won the Getrex call-out, was very much like, hey, I bet Gage is rethinking picking me in the first round. He's like, I wouldn't have done that. That was dumb.
Right.
Like just point blank said, I would have picked a duck. I wouldn't have picked, this. And he goes, but it worked out for me.
I mean, listen, Matt did on that media call on Tuesday. And look, he was golfing. And I think there's a chance that he may or may not have had a beverage before it.
Sure.
Which is fine.
You covered that when you said he was golfing.
Right. And he went in on Steve Johnson, who was on the back half of the call. So Steve Johnson comes on and he's like, what do you mean Matt Smith talks shit about me? And he's like, yeah, Matt Smith basically came on there and said, you're the most annoying person in the class and I don't like you and I'm going to call you out in round one. And then Gage called him out so he couldn't. But that's what led to, if anybody was at the track and watched the call out show live, and I don't know if it made the Fox show or not. I've not gone back to watch it, but like, because they kind of chopped up the intro a little bit, as I understand it. Because it was a little bit long-winded just getting into the actual pick part. But like Amanda Busick's interviewing Steve and she asked him a question, and classic Steve Johnson, I call him the John Force of motorcycles.
For sure.
Because Steve Johnson gives a 3-minute answer that never addresses anything that Amanda said, and then stops and looks at Amanda and goes, what was the question again? And she goes, are you annoying?
Yeah.
Like almost as if she was annoyed.
But
it had to do with,
I guess I answered my question.
It had to do with what Matt was saying. It's like, are you annoying?
Yeah, but she even followed up. She goes, I guess you answered my question. Huh? What did you say?
Yeah. Well, because he didn't answer it again.
Right.
Steve would be an amazing politician because he never accepts the premise of the question.
Right.
Never.
I tell people all the time, if you don't like the question, just don't accept the premise of the question.
Yeah.
Right.
They ask you a question. Just start talking about what you want to talk about.
Steve should be on Talking Funny Cars. He doesn't, it's Talking Funny Cars with special guest motorcycle rider Steve Johnson. Like,
by the way,
you wouldn't even need a host. By the way, you could just hand him a microphone.
Yeah, exactly. If you think Steve Johnson is annoying, yeah, he probably is a little bit of annoying, but he's just fun. I love him. And he's just out there stirring the pot.
I wish
he's under everyone's skin. It's the funniest shit
for
ever.
All the talk about pro stock motorcycle, this and that, and blah and blah, and bike counts, and the one jackass who's out there that we won't talk about, right? And like stuff like, okay, let's leave out the part where we got to, Kelly Klontz. It's so uncompetitive. Kelly Klontz didn't come. Like, oh yeah, or Kelly and Chris didn't have the money and time to tow from Maryland to Seattle.
Right. To go literally from
one end of the country to the other. Yeah. But like, man, I wish that we need to get Steve Johnson competitive again, because Steve Johnson on a good bike right now in this world where like the whole Matt versus Vance and Hines deal is going on. Oh,
yeah.
That's like ratings gold.
And the guy racing his 500th race in Sonoma. Yeah. There've only been 515 pro stock motorcycle races total.
Yeah, I laughed at that because the sticker on his bike was 500th, and it was so big that you could have read it from Mars without the
Right.
Hubble.
Yeah.
Okay, but
I liked he had a banner in his pit that said he's won 12 Wallies at $1.5 million a piece.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But in really tiny font above the 500, it said first two, and it was like I wanted to be like, Steve, listen, the list of people who could have even been eligible for this, like, you know, it's like Dave Schultz, like he's been gone a while, right?
Yeah.
Like John Myers, like, oh, like I'm running out of guys here. Like Terry Vance hasn't been on a bike in 25 years.
Right. Yeah.
Like, there's nobody.
You
out
survived
there.
it.
You're the only one.
Yeah.
You're the first to 500 because you're the only one.
Yeah.
You know, like,
everybody else.
It's going to be 300 more races before we get somebody to 500.
Yeah. It's nuts. But that class, that class has always fascinated me. I've never been fortunate enough to really work full time in that class, but it's one that is constantly those personalities. I think the skill to do what they do, the danger factor is just off the charts. And it's just, you know, it's just one of those things that it'll happen. That class will be an overnight success. Somebody, whether it's Gianna or Chase, is going to be like, oh my, you know, oh, what's going on here?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Gianna's closer to winning a race than people realize.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she's, I think she'd be the first to tell you that she's not necessarily riding the best on the starting line. And that has cost her some rounds. It cost her in Seattle against Gage. And frankly, I think it cost her in Sonoma. But I think part of that is that she's still really getting comfortable on that bike. It's a totally different bike to ride. And she's, in that regard, if you take Gianna where she was like the first 3 years of her career on a much easier bike to ride where she really struggled, and look at how she's riding that bike going down the track right now, like she reset the feet, not that it's this exact stat, right? But I mean, she's now the fastest woman ever on a pro stock motorcycle. Like, she went faster than Angie ever has last weekend. She tied the second fastest run in class history. Like, she's really kicking ass. And I think now that she's more comfortable on the bike going down the track and she's seen those results, you know, they spent all year trying to get her to, you know, she was so excited to get her first 200-mile-per-hour run. I think that was maybe Chicago. And now she's running 204 like every lap, you know? So like, now that she's comfortable there, you know, you give her these off weeks here, like they're not in Brainerd. I bet they're going to go test. I would guess that every motorcycle team would probably test before Indy. And I would like zero shock in the world if Gianna shows up and wins the US Nationals.
Yeah.
Like that to me would not be like some upset deal. People might look at it that way from the outside, but if you're following the class, that motorcycle for the better part of the last 3 races has been the second best performing bike on the tour behind Matt. And Matt has also not ridden great, right? Like Matt has lost some races on the starting line as well. So no, that bike is right there.
We love it.
We do.
I love the fact that Matt thinks Vance and Hines sandbagging.
Oh yeah.
I said that to somebody.
We don't have time left to get into the politics of that.
I said that to somebody, and I'm like, how can those bikes just take a 2-race dump on the Western Swing? I was like, there's something going on over there. No. But it's whatever.
Let's see when we get to Indy.
Yeah.
That's
right. Tune in tonight at 8:00 Eastern for Talking Funny Cars with Buddy Hall with our special guest, Ron Capps. Stay tuned for more information on future shows.
And just going to ask if you had a rotation.
Sign up for Drag Race Bracket Bonanza at dragracebracketbonanza.com. So I will.
Let me ask you this. If you sign up for Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, you obviously got your email chain, you get the Denzi's seats and all that stuff, but are you going to utilize that list to also send out information on more of these shows?
Yes. If you actually right now, if you go to dragracebracketbonanza.com, we have banner ads promoting this show. Awesome. So once we get past this show, and it clicks through to the NHRA.com story. So NHRA has been super supportive. I mean, obviously they have a vested interest in growing the channel, but you know, it's going to be really cool. I think people are going to really dig the show. But like I said, you know, we'll take all the feedback we can get on, but know that it's continually evolving. So, and keep your eye out for Buddy's crutch phrase.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for that.
By the way, I texted Logan. I got a text back from Krista Baldwin. We have a Paul Lee song.
Perfect.
What is it, J-Lo?
It is No More Mr. Nice Guy by Alice Cooper.
Ooh. Good choice.
Good one.
That's a great choice.
Good choice. I'll go with it. Elon, thank you very much.
Well, thank you guys.
J-Lo, I'm guessing we will probably be back next week before we go to Brainerd.
We're
working on some stuff. yeah, we'll be back in rotation here. I know everybody's been asking, where have you guys been? We had a stretch there. I went to Columbus for the Sports Nationals, which started on a Tuesday. And then the next week was the Seattle race, which J-Lo was tied up that whole week. That's why I was in Seattle. And then we went to Sonoma, which I went to on Tuesday. So, like, we're back into our routine now. Like, we're home. We're on the road. We'll be rolling.
We're all good. So there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys very much. Elon. The guest record. We love it. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys at the next one. Enjoy. Watch tonight. Bye.